EZDent I, Chapter 5, Report tab. Report tab settings. The objectives of this session will be to navigate to the EZDent I Settings tab to configure the environmental settings including clinical information such as office address and logo, as well as report settings for annotations, lines, as well as default text. Starting from the Report tab, we can navigate to the Settings tab by left-clicking on the EZDent icon in the upper left-hand corner, navigating down and left-clicking on Settings. From here we'll navigate down and left-click on the Report tab, and then from here navigate starting with the General tab, where we can choose whether to have a ruler and grid on our reports. Clicking on Show and then clicking on OK will then display the grid lines on our report itself, which is ideal for aligning our image as well as our text boxes. We can also turn it on and off by right-clicking on the report and left-clicking and right-clicking on the grid on and off option. Left-clicking on the EZDent icon there again and then navigating back over to report, we also have the ability where we can adjust our text box, such as the font style that we plan to use, the font color that we plan to use, the font size that we plan to use, as well as the background color behind our text. We can also choose our alignment either left, center, or right, and we also choose our boundary line color or style, and then choose the color itself for our boundary line. To test this, we'll left click on OK at the bottom, and then we'll draw our text box. We can now see it has our green background with our solid black line frame around it. We can then adjust the proportions of our text box, and then left clicking in the box itself begin adding our text, which is now based on the new default color we set in the settings section. We can left click on the bottom frame to adjust the size of our text box, left click on the right hand side, top, as well as left click in the center of it to be able to adjust it so it aligns properly underneath our image at the top of our screen. We can also right click on the text box to adjust these properties on the fly as well, such as the font size, the font alignment, font and color, such as black, a background color, changing it from green back to white again, as well as changing our box style if we want to from a thicker line to a slightly thinner line, and select on OK. We'll navigate back up to the EZDent icon in the upper left hand corner, left click on Settings, and then left click again on Report. We'll now take a look at the ability to adjust and configure our image box, starting with our line style being either a thin line or a thicker line or even a dotted line, as well as a boundary line color, either green, black, or even a dark red. And then also adjusting our background color, changing from white either to a light blue, and to save those changes, click on OK at the bottom of the screen. We'll left click on the left hand side of the screen to draw our image box, and we can then left click to move the image box into the proper place, left click on the borders to adjust the size of it, in this case here off to the right, and in order to center it above the image at the top of our report, and then left click to drag our image into the report itself, and then we can change the size of our image box on the fly based on the size of that particular image. We can adjust the top of it to fit the proportion of it, and then left click on the entire image to line it up so it lines up in the center of our report between the left and right hand margin. We'll navigate back up to the EZDent icon again, left click on Settings, and this time go back to Report again here, and we'll go over here and navigate over to Text, where we can add macros basically, where we can add standard text to our report rather than having to retype the same text over and over again. We have one in here already called Complex Extraction Report with a text that would automatically be added to a report when it's selected. We can also add a new one by clicking on Add adding a title, in this case here for an implant case, enter in your narrative note that you want to add to your report on a case-by-case basis, select OK to save it, and then select OK at the bottom of the screen to save both of your narrative notes. And then to apply that to our report, we'll go ahead and add a second page to our report, and then right-click on the text box, and then from there we'll be able to choose what narrative note we want to add. In this case here, we'll left-click on Implant Case. We also have the ability where we can then configure this here by right-clicking on the text and then changing our font style on a case-by-case basis. In this case here, making it 12 points, left alignment, changing our color text, in this case here making it black, changing the line around that if we want to, making a thinner line, keep the box color as black, and then change our background color to a light blue. Select OK to apply the changes. And then add our tooth number as needed. We also have the ability where we can set our default information such as a clinical office information and office logo. Under the EZDent Eye settings, under Environment, left-click on Clinical Information. And then from here we have the ability to add in our office name, website address, phone number, fax number, street name, city, state, country, and zip code. We can also add in a text type of logo into our reports, or if we prefer, we can also add an image logo as well. Left click in the box to open and then navigate the computer to search for the logo that you want to add to your reports. Simply double click on the logo and then select on OK to save the changes. This will then add this information automatically to each one of your reports. There are some standard settings that most offices will use when generating reports, so we'll navigate back up to the EZDent Eye software. We've gone through as far as our settings for environment, and now go back over to our report tab. Arial black is a very common font style to use. Font color generally is going to be black for our reports. The font size, typically 10, 11, or 12 is usually appropriate. The background color typically be a light blue color. Most offices will prefer typing their text starting from the left hand side as far as the alignment, and use a slightly thinner line, and using either a black boundary or perhaps a dark gray boundary you could use as well. As far as the image box, usually a line will match as far as the text box being a thinner line. The boundary line will also typically match as either being a black or a dark gray color. And usually the background color will often match then as far as the image background as well. Select OK to save those changes as well. Click on Add New Report, click on OK, and now your default settings have been applied. In summary, you should now be able to navigate to the EZDent Eye Settings tab to adjust the environment settings such as clinical information, such as office address, office logo, as well as report settings for annotations, lines, and default text.